Hey everyone, we've done some content at this point on our channel talking more about general press releases, as you can see, like, reaching out to individual content creators. We also had one about, how do you write a press release? But something that I didn't ever talk about before is how do you actually send your press release to a press aggregator like GamesPress? Now, the reason why I didn't really talk about this, and I'm going to be honest with you, is that 95% of the time, maybe even more, 98% of the time, this isn't really going to lead to much. But I think it's still something that's worth mentioning and making a video about, because the amount of effort needed to create like a press release and then send it out to something like GamesPress, for example, is pretty low. And the potential upside, should one single like press agency already decide to cover your game, is going to be there. It's something that takes like less than an hour, I would say, to do, maybe even 30 minutes or less, but can have some benefit. And I want to make a video of it because that is what happened for us as well, or like we send out a press release for MO98 to GamesPress. So GamesPress, for those who don't know, is the #1 like game news aggregator site, basically. Not like aggregator. This is where your IGNs and all of your other like press people, basically, they go and they look at GamesPress to see what is coming out, what is like new announcements and all of that. This is kind of like the single source of truth for the industry. Now, of course, you can still send out emails to direct editors and like individual journalists, but if you just want to have like a one-stop shop, this is mainly going to be it. And we got selected, like we submitted a press release for MO98. In our case, I think it did actually nothing, but the amount of effort that we put into it, like I said, was pretty low. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how do you do this, and also then like what are some next steps apart from that. So when you're writing a press release, it starts with making the actual press release, and this is going to be a Word document. You're going to write a Word document or just a plain like text file, basically, about your game. And there's a few things. It has like a somewhat standardized format. The first thing you want to do at the top is like write something like for immediate release. This is basically your embargo. Most of the time, if you're not doing like big embargo stuff, you just write for immediate release. This means that if GamesPress gets this article, they can immediately put it live on their site if they want to. Then the second thing that I always do is I write like kind of what the title is that I want their press release to be. So here it says like Manners in 90s MMO Studio on a virtual desktop. If you look here, that is what the title is. So that's, for example, here like The King of Fighters, AFK, Poker Night at the Inventory. Like you provide just a title for them. And then you come to some standardized stuff. You start with your location and your country, like nearby big city and then country, the day that you write the press release, and then kind of like the one-line summary. This is like some standardized format for press releases. I don't really know. I just follow the format and then go from there. And then it's kind of like, okay, the general structure is something like short description about the game, features, talk a bit more about the game if you want to, and then you provide some assets or like information, like for example, if you have a Steam page or an announcement trailer or all of those things, you put them in here, a little bit about your studio, and then press, if they want to contact you, who should they contact? So you see that in here as well. It gets a little bit formatted, but we'll dive about that in a second. Honestly, how I do it, I just look at like what do big publishers do. So this is a publisher, Oro Interactive. I just look at like what are the general like layouts and outlines that they do for like, for example, Roadside's research, and I kind of just copy that. We wrote something similar for Pripyat Zero, but Pripyat Zero did not get covered, where you can see also, starts with the very, like, just the date, what is the most important thing, and then like more information, some key features, some more information, some information about the studio, some information about the publisher, and then some URLs. Those are the main things. You put that in a Word document, and then GamesPress actually has a little like how to submit news section. There is only one way that you're probably going to be doing it, and it is by email. Once a month, you can get a press release sent to them, and they will cover it most of the time by sending an email to inbox@gamespress.com. So how does this look? This was how the email looked for us. Very simple. This is my for immediate release MO98 press release. I write it so many times. Like I put it in the email, I put it in the document name, and then I put it also as the first line of the document in bold. This is, you have to do this because that they need to know that there is no embargo. We can just upload this. I also uploaded some key art. They didn't end up using this, but basically that would be what they sometimes use here for the actual image. I think if I look up MO98, okay, I'm not logged in right now, but they would show like the image. They didn't use my image provided in this case. They just used like the Steam capsule instead. And then I just say like, hey, attached is the press release and key art for the press release, and you send out that email. And that's it basically. So yeah, if your news is under embargo, please display the date time very clearly in subject email line and also in bold red text. Though we didn't have an embargo, so that didn't really happen. GamesPress Elite, this other platform, this is more if you are like a big publisher and this is like something that's like ridiculously expensive. It's not something if you watch Bite Me Games, most likely should bother with. It just allows you to like upload way more because the simple email method is also limited to just one press release every month. Maybe a little bit of a step back. When should you do press releases? What are the main points that you would do them? There are 4 main press release moments. You can do it for like more later on, but that's if you have like dedicated PR teams. Number 1, you announce your game. That is generally a press release if you do not like make the super condensed development timeline like Bite Me does, where it's like the store page goes live 3 days before the demo. So first press release would be, hey, announcing my game, announcement trailer, Steam page is up now, like wishlist now. Number 2 is when you have your demo live. If you're doing a demo, that would also warrant a press release. Number 3, and you can also do like dedicated trailers for each of these events. Number 3 is if you announce your release date. So it's kind of a strategy if you want to get more like potential like outreach moments for press, is to not announce your release date immediately when you announce your Steam page, but instead you just give like the vague thing. We've actually done this with MMO98 as well, where right now, if you look at like when is our game gonna come out, it just says April. Like we also kind of know the release date already, but that allows us to then do a 3rd press release if we wanted to, of hey, this game is going to come out at this point in time. And then the 4th press release is going to be the actual, hey, the game is out now, here's maybe a release trailer. Those are the 4 points that you would send out your email basically with your press releases. You can do more as well, but it doesn't really matter as much of like if you get featured in a big event, if you're going into like OTK Game Show, although generally OTK Game Show does their own like press release as well, or if you sell 100,000 copies, you can do press releases for that as well, but that doesn't really matter that much. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about something else you need to have for these press releases. So you see that here, okay, availability and assets. Steam page, obvious, right? You want to have a Steam page. If you don't have a Steam page, it doesn't really matter that much. Announcement trailer, once again, you probably want to have that as well. And then we also added a press kit and pricing. Now, if you look at the actual article, you see that this has been omitted here. And instead, GamesPress, they manually go through every single article you sent them. And then they pull out the information from the press kit from here so that like the press power users can very easily like download the assets that they need. They can get the trailer and all of that. How do you get a press kit? It's very easy. There is only one single solution that I would ever suggest you guys to use. And luckily, a lot of the buyers do use it. That is Press Kitty by Impress Games. It's free thing. I've been using it for years at this point. I see developers also just make like a Google Drive link and then put all of their assets in the Google Drive link. If you have like lots of trailers and they're like very big files, maybe you can do it, but I would suggest you to always use something like this because that's a very easy way to get a press kit that looks like this. It follows a very standard format that press kits have had for 10 years or something at this point, with media, downloading screenshots, getting like branding files for the logos if they want to like use something like that, getting credits, all of the information basically. They can also like click through because we've got this setup of like, okay, I want to know more about these Bite Me Games guys. You can find out, okay, what are all the Bite Me games? Like we have press kits for all of our games using Press Kitty. And it's a very easy way to also edit it. This is like the behind the scenes. I don't get paid to say this. Also, they don't make money from this because Press Kitty is completely free to use for up to 3 games press kits as well. So I think it is something very nice. Like if I want to like edit, for example, you can add like what your prices would be on launch. You can change your descriptions. You need to have a press kit, and there's only one good way, honestly, and that is using Press Kitty. Okay, that's all it happens. This is also very easy to get started. You just put your Steam page in, and it like auto generates it for you. And then once you have that, basically we take this URL and then we posted that here in our press kit and pricing. And that way press has something to find information about your game. It's not just for press, also your press kit, also for content creators, for example. That way they can find assets of your game if they want to make custom thumbnails and all of that. You want to make their life as easy as possible. Now, like I said, this isn't really like going to be the saving grace of your entire studio. You're going to need a little bit more if you want to do this like professional. I'm just going to tell you that I don't suggest you to do this. I'm just giving you all of the information. you would use Press Engine if you're taking like your press releases more serious. And with more serious, I mean like you're using a PR studio, that's what they would use, or you're using a publisher. Press Engine is kind of the standardized press outreach as well, where they give you a giant email list of all of those press editors that you can actually reach out to. Now, the reason I don't really suggest you is look at these prices. It starts at $300 a month, and it's for like 20,000 emails, 2 tiles a month. So this is usually not for the scale that a Bite Me viewer is at anymore. I'm just giving you this for completeness sake. What you would do if you go to like a PR agency, they can also do press releases for you. What they would generally do, what you're paying them for, is a few things. One, they will often write this press release for you. It depends. Some of them, like for example, when we did the video here with Robbie, Pirate PR, they have like an option where you bring the press release or they write a press release, and it depends on the pricing as well. But then you're kind of paying for their access to one Press Engine, plus they often have bonus contacts with certain media, certain press outlets and all of that. At that point, you are spending a lot of money maybe on something that is questionable return on investment. I wanted to make this video because GamesPress is like, it costs you nothing. It costs you 30 to 60 minutes of time to write a press release and to send it out. And 90% of the time, there's nothing going to happen. Like I said, 95, 98% of the time, sometimes it does happen. It depends on the scale of the game. Now, one thing that I do want to note as well, I think it's kind of small here. They do not cover everything. Like I said, this is a manual process. It's not automated. So there is like an actual human being who gets your email, who goes through the document, and then who makes a web page basically of that press release. For example, for Pripyat Zero, we also submitted a press release that did never get covered. It may also take some time. I think it took between this article coming out, I mean, it was still on the 23rd, but I think it was like 12, 16 hours or something between sending the email and then this actual article coming out on GamesPress. Anyways, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. It's a little quick thing. I think press releases, it's one of those things that you can still do. This is probably on a video that gets almost no views, but it is something that I think can once again help in the global marketing of your game. And instead of always telling people individually of, hey, have you done a press release? It is something you can knock out on an evening or like, you know, just prepare for without that much effort. If you thought this was an interesting video, then be sure to head down below and subscribe, because we make 2 videos every week talking about game development and the things that we learn along the way. So I have a lot of cool stuff coming up in the next few weeks probably, so you don't want to miss those things out. And it also supports us if you subscribe. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.